Don't we all want that, to be able to write better formulas, more complex, shorter, error-free formulas? Now, it's more of an art than a science. In fact, it's a combination of both. But let me share a couple of tips with everyone. So I'm working with a data set here. All that we want to do here is to use the CTC and then find the group. So maybe the group is 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, and so on. Now imagine we are writing an if statement. I'm not really going to explain the if statement right now. That has been covered in a different video altogether. But the idea is that when I write an if, and I say that is the value less than 5. The moment you put a comma, most of us will tend to continue the formula in a single line. Don't do that. Make it easier for yourself and for the reader and break it into a different line by pressing Alt Enter. And then I can again say if, and I can say it be 3 less than 10. So the result for the first one, everybody, would be 0 to 5. And the result for this one would be 5 to 10. And maybe otherwise, the result is 10 plus, like this. Now, do you see how this makes my task easier? By breaking this into multiple lines rather than writing it in one line. The second thing I like to do is to take a screenshot and keep it with me for reference. Now, this helps in a lot of ways. If you're trying to understand the formula, make modifications, add something to it, explain it to somebody else, having the screenshot with you adds a lot of value, and you should always do that. Because at one point, otherwise, you can only see one formula, right? But this way, you can have multiple formulas shown as multiple screenshots. The next tip I have is to use an add-in called the formula forge. So we go to insert and get add-ins. And I'm going to select an add-in from the store called the formula forge, which is like this. I will add it. And it gets added to the formulas tab at the very end called get formula. Now, how this works is that when I click on a cell that has a formula in it, and I click on get formula, it essentially shows you the formula in a tree view, which is very cool. If you look at this, it just makes it so much easier for me to understand what is happening. And this is not even a very complex formula to begin with. But imagine if this was a very complex formula with a lot of paths in it, nested functions, and or operators used in it. This is so much easier because it actually tells you step by step how everything is working. The next step I have is to use formula text. So formula text will essentially show you the formula that you have used in a cell. I still prefer the screenshot because it's larger and it's bigger and it's clearer to see what you have done. But then, of course, the formula text will be dynamic. Unfortunately, the Alt Enter that you put in a formula, the line break, cannot be used with when you do a formula text. It will come in a single line. And the final tip I would like to give you is to use evaluate formula in the formulas tab. This allows you to see the formula step by step. So when I click on evaluate, you notice there is an underscore. And when I click on evaluate, it shows me step by step how the formula is working. So especially when you're facing some errors and you want to quickly check what went wrong at what step, this is a great way of doing that. In fact, even if it's a very complex formula and you would like to understand how is it working, it's a good way of going through that formula. The next tip would be to select any part of the formula and press F9. That shows you the intermediary result. For example, if I press F9 now, it shows me just the part of D3 less than 10. This is another great way of evaluating only one specific part of the formula. And then, of course, in formula auditing, there are a lot of options there. We have trace precedent, which tells you where the formula is coming from. or rather what are the cells that it is dependent on. Similarly, you have trace dependent, which tells us that the cell D3 is being used for what formulas. Show formulas essentially reveals the formula for you. So all the formulas that you have on the worksheet will become visible when you click on show formulas. So these were a few tips that I wanted to give you. There are, of course, many other small things that I do. One being the watch window. For example, if I've connected a formula on another sheet, for example, if I've written sum of 4 plus, from the same sheet, I'm selecting a cell here, maybe a 10 here. Now, the thing is that we know that this formula is connected to 2 cells, one on each sheet. But if I'm on the sheet example and I change this number, I don't know what impact this is having on the dependent formula. I would like to track that. So the moment I select the cell and we click on watch window, I can basically watch that particular cell. So I click on add watch. And now, let me just increase this. Now, even if I'm working on example and I make a change to this number 4, and let's say I make it 14, you will notice that here it tells me that the number changed to 24. So it's a great way to see that the changes you're doing on the parameters, what impact is it creating on all the dependent cells, which could be on different workbooks and worksheets as well.